Hello, my name is Yvonne Fedderson, and I'm one of the co-founders of Childhelp.
And I'm Sara O'Mara, the other co-founder of Childhelp. We have been friends, oh my gosh,
Forever.
it feels like it, for about 70 years. I remember it like it was yesterday. Yvonne was already in the movie industry and had made quite a name for herself. And we were members of the Hollywood Christian group. And then we ended up being Sunday school teachers at the Presbyterian Church. We kept running into each other. Then we were selected on the same television show.
The Ozzie and Harriet show.
Yeah, the Ozzie and Harriet show. But the highlight was when we were asked, out of all these people that came to interview for a specific UFO type show, over 500 people came, and they would take you to Korea, Okinawa, and Japan. This trip changed our life, and that is the greatest thing that ever happened to us at that moment. When we were in a typhoon that struck, we wanted to walk out and see the devastation from it, and we snuck out through the basement. We were crazy to go out, except we ran across 10 little children. They had no jackets on, no shoes. It was the coldest winter they'd ever had on record. They were huddled together, fending off the cold. And Yvonne and I rushed out to them and said, "Where do you belong, honey? Where are your parents?"
And so we were going to follow through with these children. And when we came back to the States, we got our friends together and we asked them if they would help us to help the children. And of course, they all did.
And at that time, our good friends were Debbie Reynolds and Connie Stevens, and they helped us raise funds in order to build our first orphanage. Then we built another one, and then we built another one, and then we built another one. So we built 4 orphanages for those children in Japan. We did not know where that would take us, of course. We don't know our future. But we keep our eye on our compassion for each hurting child. It's like when we received a call to be honored in front of Congress. But their real reason for calling us there, even though they gave us an award for what we had done, was to ask if we would go into Vietnam and do the very same thing.
Our plan was to help these children. We didn't know it at the time, but once we knew it was the right thing for us to do, no one is going to change our minds.
We were keynote speakers, and the Reagans were on the dais with us. And when we came back from the podium speaking about this, Nancy put her arm out and said, "You're just the two to do it." And we said, "Do what?" And they said, "Child abuse. It's the best kept secret in this country. You've got to do this."
Sara and Yvonne were both rising Hollywood starlets. You're talking about women who were in feature films. They had married Hollywood producers. Yvonne even had a relationship with Elvis Presley. A lot of how Childhelp grew was because of the many, many relationships that they had in Hollywood with A-list celebrities of that time. Bob Hope, Frank Sinatra. This was the life that they had constructed and built and worked their lives to achieve. They were on their way, and they gave it all up. And they gave it all up because they saw something that was bigger than themselves. The 65th anniversary of Childhelp commemorates an organization of long standing inside this country. Not many organizations last 65 years, especially organizations that started by tackling a subject that nobody wanted to even acknowledge existed. Doing that not just through legislation, but through prevention, creating the only evidence-based prevention education curriculum on the market today for students pre-K through 12th grade, creating the only national hotline that is staffed by master or doctoral degree counselors, expanding the knowledge of re-traumatization and the effects that have on a child and on a family, and pioneering a multidisciplinary model so that when a child discloses that they've been abused, they never have to re-suffer the trauma of that once again.
For two women who've never themselves been exposed to abuse, for them to take this cause on, for them to believe in the needs for our children to find a voice on their behalf. I am one of those kids. I was one of those kids. I know I was drawn to Childhelp because of what happened when I was a little boy growing up in this very town from a step-grandfather. I know what it feels like to be in a setting in which there was no care or treatment in those days. There were no programs. Nobody even believed that child abuse physically or sexually occurred in this country in those days.
To speak the story, to know the story of where they started, how they started, to walk through their whole life, entire life. And they just kept marching on. And so many times when troubles would happen and financial problems would happen, we would just pray. And honestly, the money would just come in and the children would be okay.
We would not be impacting and changing the lives of more than 12 million children if it was not for Sara and Yvonne. And this landscape of abuse that we are getting ready to reshape and change and address more significantly than we ever have in our past would have never been possible if it wasn't for the bravery of starting this global movement by Sara and Yvonne.
What do you want your legacy to be?
Well, I would like for people to say, you know, those two women taught me that the answer, the key to life, is to serve others.